Welcome to Italics, television for the Italian-American experience. I'm your host, Anthony Tamburri. This episode is the second in our second season of original summer programming. This episode of Italics explores religious processions. Ciro Quattrocchi, president of the Società Santa Fortunata di New York, explains the history and significance of the Santa Fortunata procession in Brooklyn. And the 125th annual Feast of San Rocco is held at St. Joseph's Church in Manhattan's Lower East Side.
The town of Vows is where her body is, and it's been there since February 14, 1790. According to the legend, Mother Superior of the Church of Maria dei Lumi in Vows had a dream of a young lady coming to the town, and this dream reoccurred 3 times, and she finally went to confession because she thought it was something that she should have confessed to the local priest, and the local priest had the same dream. So legend has it that together they went to Rome, and they secured a Saint Fortunata, a young girl, to come to the town. And on February 14, 1790, the casket that was brought to town, it was a little cardboard box with some ribbon and apparently a vial of blood that was supposedly also hers. And Dr. Greco in Vows in 1790 started the process of reconstructing the body and put anatomically the skeleton together. He actually reproduced what would be the face of Saint Fortunata, and the process began with trying to have a celebration, creating an urn and a place for her in the church, but she was left in the main church of the town, and miraculously that night the casket ended up back in the Church of Maria with the nuns. As people migrated around the world and came to Brooklyn, they actually settled on Elizabeth Street, and on August 15, 1900, the society was founded for 2 primary reasons. One, to keep the traditions going, but also because a lot of the men came to work and died here and had no one to bury them, no family members here. So the members would put $1 out and actually bury their brothers in America and help the family in Vows. In 1977, we moved from Elizabeth Street formally and went to a storefront on Utrecht Avenue here in Bensonhurst. And soon the membership got together and started to put money together to buy this building. And so since 1977, the saint has been in this location.
And you've been doing a procession each year?
Yes, ever since 1977. There are 13 scenes of the life's martyrdom and crowning at her death that we reproduce.
People don't really know what they're seeing, but we create every act that happens in her life from beginning to death, and they can kind of get that when we're walking and they see the scenes, because that's basically what we're dressing up for. We're dressing up for each scene, each part of her life, and if you take a look, you can see, well, you know, there she's being tortured by lions, and there she's in a ring of fire, and then at the end, you know, the angels are carrying her. And it's really great to kind of just represent what we believe into a borough like Brooklyn.
What role are you playing today?
I'm Faith in the Faith, Hope, and Charity.
How long have you been doing this?
Since I was a baby. I started as an angel, and then I worked my way up to a saint, and now I hold a cross and a chalice.
I usually try to come, all the time to the processions, and I decided this year I should carry the saint.
Why didn't you do that last year or the year before? What's different this year?
I don't know. I guess the faith became stronger. I have 3 children that go to Catholic school. I figured I'd be closer to God.
What is it that you do exactly as part of the procession?
Well, I'm the Santa Fortunata that goes in heaven, so I raise my hands.
Okay. And is there any other relatives of yours that are involved?
Basically, my whole family's here.
This was the original statue from Elizabeth Street, made around August 15th, 1900. And up until the year 2000, we carried this statue through the streets of Brooklyn, but it became very fragile, and then we had our fundraiser and created the one that we have upstairs and use now. In 1977, when the actual statue that was brought here, underneath the statue I found this particular piece of jewelry and a $10 gold piece. That was the president's badge. He had it made up in gold, and it was hidden underneath the statue, and of course we keep that as a precious item. The other things, people have donated. Some people have had cancer and whatnot. If they feel they pray to the saint and she helps them, they'll donate something. And every year we've accumulated a piece of jewelry. Some people just do it to be protected, and it's accumulated since 1976. Actually, we've had a number of pieces of jewelry.
I think sometimes with a number of Italian American processions and feasts in New York City, it all too often is criticized for being just a feast, a street fair. And tell us about, if I may ask, your beliefs in the miracles of Saint Fortunata.
The difference with Saint Fortunata is that during the procession in the town, many have professed miracles, and you feel the energy. And I think our parents brought that home to us. And I'm sure there isn't a home of a Bauerginese American Italian who doesn't have a picture of the saint over their bed or in their bedroom or in the hallway or somewhere, or an altar set up for them. I firmly believe in Saint Fortunata's story, and it's not just tradition, or else I don't think I'd be president for so long.
Do you, let's say in a moment of crisis, turn to Saint Fortunata?
Always,
Okay.
always. Mom has had cancer, I've had cancer, yes, definitely. I carry with me a piece of her relic. We have these cards that have a piece of her veil that touched the original casket over there, always in my pocket.
Do you believe in Santa Fortunata as someone who can intercede for requests that are made for health or other
Absolutely, sure. That's what faith is about. Trust in God, and you're in God's hands, and you pray to God, and this is what you get. You know.
Do you know anybody who's received the grace from Santa Fortunata here in New York?
Not necessarily.
I know that when she was in Italy, like the saint, not when she was alive, a kid in a wheelchair went up to her and ended up walking to her, and he can't walk.
Do you pray to Santa Fortunata?
All the time.
Has she answered your prayers?
Yeah, I believe she hears me, yeah.
Are there times that prayers that you request aren't answered?
No, I think, I have a healthy family, and my parents love me. That's all I really want.
As a president, when someone passes, when one of our brothers passes, I have the job of placing their membership medal on their bodies, and we say that they're going with her. So it's still a part of our tradition, and also a very strong belief.
There's a number of new communities here, particularly Chinese immigrants. Is there any sense of what they think of the Saint Fortunata when she goes out?
As we walk the streets, there's a lot of Chinese. They're curious to look and see, take pictures, but many try to ask, what is that? We have a lot of Hispanics coming to celebrate with us now. Some are from Peru, some Hispanics from Peru claim that they have also a Saint Fortunata in Peru. So many have come to worship our Saint Fortunata because they feel the link.
The neighborhood's changed a little bit. Has that impacted the membership of the club and the way in which the procession is organized and carried out?
Yes, usually the procession was followed with a week of bazaars and stands, and that we had to stop because it was getting too costly. And also the membership has changed. We had 250 male members and families, which now have dwindled to about 100. People have moved out of Brooklyn for cost, financial reasons, and it's difficult to get everyone together, but today will be the day that the paisans all gather with their children and we celebrate it at Mass.
So, in a certain way, the procession is both a religious thing, but a very important social and cultural aspect as well.
Yes, people will see each other once a year from Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Saint Fortunata is the force that gathers us, yes.
Why continue to do this?
It's tradition. It's everything I've ever believed in. It just helps me and helps us as people from Bauschina explain her story. It helps us live on her story and the way she saved herself and just like the glory of it. It's really amazing.
Well, it's tradition in my family, so I'd like to keep going with the tradition.
I've been doing it since I was a baby, so I'm gonna continue to do it, and hopefully my kids will do it too.
What do you see as the future for St. Fortunata, the club?
We've lost many members. As age releases them, the children have not become members. Starting last year, I started a campaign to try to get the youth involved, and I call them the lost generation because their parents have moved away and they've had to move away, so there is no link except for the Mass. I'm trying to recruit, and now with Facebook and email, we try to gather and maybe have a Halloween party for the young kids and try to attract them that way. I'm hoping that we can continue for many more years with our children, and they have to carry on this tradition because without us, there won't be a unit of Bauginesi in Brooklyn anymore, even for Mass, if we don't keep the club going. So I'm trying my best.
There's nothing that can stop me from being here, no work, no school. I make it a point to be here every year for this.
How long do you think this might continue to go on?
Well, I hope forever, because this is fun.
Here at the 125th Feast of St. Rocco, being celebrated at St. Joseph's Church at 5 Monroe Street. Since August 16th, 1889 till today, we've celebrated the Feast of St. Rocco each year without interruption. St. Rocco in his life suffered. He was the son of wealthy parents. When they died, he inherited a kingdom in southern France. He could have just lived a princely life, but he chose to follow Christ by giving away everything to the poor and going on pilgrimage to Italy. When he got there, the Black Plague had broken out, and he cured people by merely making the sign of the cross over them. He then got the Black Plague. He didn't want the people to be infected. He went into a cave to die. A dog saw where he went. The dog would steal bread from his master's table and bring it to St. Rocco, hence St. Rocco always being accompanied by a dog. Ultimately, the master was curious. He followed the dog and found St. Rocco in the cave, nursed him back to health, and St. Rocco then continued his mission. Ultimately, he returned to his own town in France, but because of the ravages of the plague, he didn't even look like himself. They thought he was a spy and put him in jail for 5 years. At his death, the jailer, who had a handicapped leg, kicked him and said, "Wake up, wake up." When he kicked him, his leg was healed, and the jailer said, "I saw angels say, 'This is my servant Rocco. Whoever is sick, pray to him.'" In the late 1880s, Southern Italian immigrants began to pour into Lower Manhattan, particularly from the Basilicata region, of which Potenza is the capital. The immigrants brought with them devotions to various saints, but one of the most important to them was St. Rocco. He is the patron saint of the sick, and certainly the immigrants at the turn of the century needed him in southern Italy and certainly needed him in Lower Manhattan. In approximately 1889, the area, which is now Alfred Smith houses, were tenement buildings, and they were packed with Italian immigrants. That was a vibrant community. The first Italian national parish in New York City, St. Joachim's, was located at 26 Roosevelt Street, and that is where the Feast of St. Rocco was celebrated from August of 1889 till August of 1957, at which time the city determined that the tenements were unusable, unsafe, etc., and decided to destroy them along with St. Joachim's Church and build a middle-income co-op and a New York City housing projects to replace them. At this point, most people thought that would be the end of the St. Rocco feast. But thanks to a woman, Angela Carnevale, our former president and treasurer, that did not happen. She moved it from St. Joachim's Church here to St. Joseph's. Ultimately, this little mission chapel would become the only Italian church in the area and would assume the responsibility of the Feast of St. Rocco. We've had urban renewal, we've had the destruction of the original site of the feast, and yet we continue. St. Rocco's statue, which we'll be carrying today in the procession, is the original statue brought from Potenza, Italy, sometime before August of 1889. The statue was used in the movie Godfather 2, when I believe it was Coppola who wanted the oldest Italian religious statue in New York City, and he had obtained the permission of the society to do so. My maternal grandparents came from the Basilicata region, and in fact, my grandmother, Anna Tricarico, came to Roosevelt Street in her mother's womb. So her family grew up seeing the Feast of St. Rocco. It was on her block, as it were. And I heard stories of this, not only our patron saint in Italy was St. Rocco, but my grandmother had grown up on the very block where this feast was held. 27 years ago today, my grandmother injured her leg. There was a potential that her leg would have to be amputated. So I prayed to St. Rocco, if you heal her, I will walk barefoot in the procession in your honor, which is a Southern Italian custom. My grandmother's reaction, you'll hurt your feet, and anyway, where is St. Rocco now? My grandmother's leg was completely cured. The doctors were amazed that an 85-year-old woman with bad vascular disease, diabetes, etc., could be healed. And she was. I said I would find St. Rocco, and I went to the village for a St. Anthony procession. And so I took my shoes off. Two elderly women nudged each other and said, look at that young kid with no shoes. Remember when everyone did that for St. Rocco, when thousands of people were walking barefoot with the large candles? And I said, yeah, isn't it too bad they don't have it? And they said, what do you mean they don't have it? Go on Catherine Street on August 16th and you'll find them. And that's how my story with this feast began. That August 16th, 1988, I arrived in front of this church where we're standing today. Took my shoes off and walked. Within a few years, Angelo Carnevale, the then president, said, you're going to be the president. I said, we'll make a deal. I'll be the president if I could bring this back. Because at that time, there were just a handful of elderly people who lived in the area still participating. At the time that I became president, the statue of St. Rocco was carried on a cart because the members were elderly men who just could not manage carrying a saint statue for 3 hours. I got a couple of my buddies and I said, you have to do this for me, just once. Just try it once. We tried it once and they've never left. They've come back every year and the group grew exponentially.
I'm one of the carriers for St. Rocco. I'm part of the society for 14 years. Every year I do this, people that I know personally who are undergoing something or really horrible, whether it be something horrible or something minor, when I do this and I feel like my energy going out to them, they are healed. They are, absolutely. I believe it 100%. And that brought me back the next year and the next and the next, and it will until I'm 110 years old.
I reintroduced the use of carrying large candles, which are not easily obtainable. At one time, there were Italian stores in the Lower East Side and East Harlem that made them to any size or dimension you wanted. They no longer exist. We now purchase them from Greek Orthodox churches that still use them. I reintroduced the use of carrying wax body parts, symbols of the body that were cured by St. Rocco. I have seen St. Rocco perform miracles. A very dear friend of mine's grandson had acute meningitis. He was in Columbia Children's Hospital on the verge of death. This child's mother asked me, please come, please come. If you come, St. Rocco will come. I said, I'm just me. I'm not the same. No, please come. I came, I prayed. I said, St. Rocco, you have to save this child. This family loves you. Within moments, I heard the family crying and screaming. Oh, God, I said, could something really awful have happened? Oh, the child's eyes were open. I said, okay, that's a good sign. They said, you don't understand, his eyes haven't been open in 2 weeks. He is now going to be here. He's now 9 years old, and he's He's great.
I've been praying for St. Rocco all along. He granted my wish 3 years ago when my wife was sick. So we keep on praying. Never lose faith in St. Rocco.
My mother, when she was pregnant with me, she had a vow to St. Rocco, so I come every year. She wasn't supposed to have the pregnancy, and she was so grateful that she made a vow to St. Rocco. And so every year I come and put the money on the statue.
My dad used to come to the Feast of St. Rocco since he was a young child. His mother actually dedicated him to St. Rocco because he was born with a childhood disease and he was healed. And so my grandmother, his mother, said that if he's healed, that he will dedicate him to St. Rocco. And so he came to the feast, and Jacob, my grandson, who is Bill Rizzo's great-grandson, said he wanted to come to the feast day because his pie couldn't make it this year.
Someone a few months ago told me I should pray to St. Rocco because I have arthritis in my right knee. And my mnemonic was Rocco and rodilla in Spanish. So I'm here. I thought it was providential that there'd be a feast. I think it's a beautiful spirit. I'm really happy to be here.
The saints are in our everyday lives. Some of the miracles are profound, like the ones I've talked about, and some are minor.
This is something that's more than just a faith tradition. It's also an Italian and a cultural tradition. And it's important for our children to learn these things, and it will help their values as they grow up.
What happens when you take away tradition? What happens when you take away these things? The families suffer, the neighborhoods suffer, and people forget about getting together and where they came from and hopefully where they're going. It's important that we try to keep these things alive.
For these guys, for the young guys.
For the little ones. That's so they come up and they know they have where their background is and where they come from and where they hope to go.
To me, the tradition is always somewhat secondary to the spirituality, but in Southern Italian thought, the sacred and the profane are together. So there's no way I can tell you one's important, because for that matter, we could all come, have a mass, pray, and leave. This is a vibrant parish made up of the remnant of the Italian-American community as well as an incredibly vibrant Chinese community, Hispanic community, and others. The original society members came from the city of Potenza, the capital of Basilicata, but from almost the very beginning, they welcomed people from other towns in the province of Potenza and thereby kept it strong. By the 1920s, there were Southern Italians from every region, from the Abruzzo to Sicily, celebrating. We have a man from Indiana who is devoted to St. Rocco, and he's come. We've had tourists come from Italy who read in America Oggi that we're having the procession.
In Potenza, we do the same thing. We go to church, we take the saint out, and then we march through the street with people donating money. They talk us, we pray, and then we go back to the church. Same thing we do over here.
I come from Philadelphia to see the son Rocco from Gioiosa Ionica too.
I'm a student at Fordham University, and I'm from Rochester, New York. I came down this weekend for the Festival of St. Rocco. My mother's side of the family is all from Italy, and I've never been there, but this is as close as I've ever been, I'd say.
There's a potential this could be the last year. There are a number of Catholic parishes in the Lower East Side that perhaps, at least in the church's estimation, too many to serve the number of Catholics that live here. There is a question that St. Joseph's can be closed.
We try to keep our Catholic faith strong, and of course, we would hate to see it go. But even if it does go, it's not going to stop us. We'll just go to a different church and gather and keep ourselves going and try to keep the tradition. I was here for the 75th. I was here for the 100th. I'm here for the 125th. If the good Lord helps me, I'll be here for the 150th talking to you.
A person asked me once, "You really believe in him?" I said, "I believe in him more than I believe in the person standing next to me. He's helped me in the good and the bad." Now I'll get choked up. But there are no words to describe how I love the saint and how I love my people. And I want to see our Southern Italian ways continue in this country.
As long as I can walk, I'll come over here. I will postpone any vacation, anything, to be here on this day for one day.
For our community's survival, we need these places, these spiritual centers. And I think this little corner of Lower Manhattan is a mighty powerful spiritual and tradition center for Southern Italians.
As some might look to Mayor de Blasio for his progressive politics, we can all surely look to him and his family as that model of a future engagement with regard to ethnic politics, and more important, with regard to what we might consider a truly transgressive ethnic combinatio nova, a new family paradigm that transcends not only national origin, but indeed race. Bill de Blasio himself is a child of mixed raciality, if indeed we consider Italians as part of a non-white category that is olive-based, as the poet Rose Romano and others have steadfastly contended. With his family of Scillane, Dante, and Chiara, de Blasio has taken the combinatio nova one step further in the melding of olive with black, offering up to society what pretends to be one of the newer forms of the American family of the future, one that is truly a rainbow reflection of U.S. society. But I would like to think that the de Blasios who inhabit Gracie Mansion constitute a model in other ways and for other people. In other ways, insofar as they demonstrate that the so-called power positions of a place like New York City can indeed be held not only by the white or the black, but indeed by those of the combinatio nova. For other people, precisely because of de Blasio's Italian heritage. During his current trip to Italy, the de Blasios met with former Minister of Integration Cecile Kyenge and her family, she the first African-Italian to hold a cabinet position. Thus, together with Minister Kyenge and her family, Mayor de Blasio and his family can also be a model for those in Italy who continue to look to the U.S. For in spite of what some Italians and Italian Americans may think, Italy is no longer the monochromatic country they believe it to be. With its new immigration of the past 3 decades for sure, Italy is more than ripe for its own wave of a combinatio nova. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Italics. Tune in to our next episode of Italics, airing September 24th. Watch previous editions of Italics on CUNY.TV/show/Italics and web extras on our Italics YouTube channel, Italics TV. I'm Anthony Tamburri. Arrivederci alla prossima puntata.